Hey, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're having a super fantastic day. Today we're talking about my brand new all-around video camera, the Sony FS5 Mark II, and whether it's worth it in the year 2022. So recently, I made the switch from shooting on Micro Four Thirds cameras to Sony cameras. If you want to learn more about why I made that switch, you can check out this video right here. But in that video, fun fact, while I was recording it, I actually rambled about the Sony FS5 for like 5 straight minutes, just gushing and gushing over how much I enjoyed using it. And I ended up cutting most of that out just in favor of making a dedicated video about the camera to hopefully help people who might be in the market for it right now. So jumping right into it, why do I like this camera so much? Well, the first reason is its unrivaled ergonomics. For the majority of my filmmaking career, I've been shooting on mirrorless cameras. The problem with shooting on mirrorless cameras, though, is that they're not really designed for video. They're actually designed more for photography. In order to make them fully functional for a production environment, say for a short film or a documentary, you really have to rig them out and build them in order to suit the needs of that project. But for the most part, you're rigging them out to give them basic video camera functionality. Those cameras are really great, but building them out isn't really ideal. I'm going to make a separate video on a future date about camera rigging, my thoughts on it in general, and how to do it if you must do it. But unless you're going for portability and size, cameras like the Sony FS5 are gonna suit most of your needs. I've got to say, the experience of shooting on a dedicated video camera has been really nice, especially since there's tons and tons of extra buttons. They're all in very easy to reach places, and the side handle and the top handle, both of which have buttons on them, they don't need to be connected to the camera with cables in order to allow those buttons to be functional, like if you were to buy a third-party side handle. Everything just kind of works out of the box, and it's honestly really spectacular. For reference, when I owned a Z-Cam, I had it fully rigged out. It was a video production kit. It was primarily designed for making short films, but in order to use it, it would take me several minutes to add all of the accessories to it. And while that might be fine for certain types of projects, I just got kind of tired of like tearing it apart and putting it back together, even for simple projects such as this YouTube video. It's really nice to just kind of have everything put together all the time. So yes, this Sony FS5 is very ergonomic. I cannot get over how comfortable it is. The side handle in particular is really easy to rotate. All you have to do is hold down a button and it rotates. The top handle is the most comfortable top handle I have ever used. This one has divots for your hand, and it's also surprisingly lightweight. In fact, the entire camera package is super lightweight, despite what you might think just looking at its size. Okay, the second reason why I love this camera is its variable neutral density filter that's built into the camera. I swear, everyone that makes a video on this camera has talked about this feature, and it was one of the main selling points for me. Guys, you've got to experience this variable neutral density filter. It is an absolute joy to use. It makes thread-on neutral density filters just feel so archaic, especially if you're trying to go indoors and outdoors and you're going back and forth constantly trying to shoot. It's just a pain to have a filter that you're taking on and off the lens of the camera and maybe putting in your pocket if you don't have any pouches nearby or your camera bag is not nearby. It's so cumbersome, and as someone who shoots a lot of weddings but also does a lot of run and gun work, having a neutral density filter built into the camera, especially one that's variable, is game-changing. The third reason why I love this camera is its amazing audio. Built into the camera are 2 full-size XLR inputs that allow me to connect dynamic microphones like the one I'm using right now. I don't have to run dual system audio. I don't have to sync audio in post. I can get really clean, crisp audio right into the camera. I also find the microphone inputs to be really clean, and the preamps on this camera to be really good. It's not something I can say about most mirrorless cameras. Another thing that makes the audio on this camera so good is its physical controls on the side of the camera. There are 2 gain knobs for each of the camera's 2 channels, and there are other options and switches for things like phantom power microphones or for switching between the actual inputs on the camera and the internal mics on the camera. The fourth thing that I love about this camera is its robust and very usable codecs. This camera can shoot in 10-bit and it can shoot in 4K. However, the main downside is that it can't shoot in both at the same time. If you want to shoot in 10-bit, you're limited to shooting in HD, and if you want to shoot in 4K, you're limited to shooting in 8-bit. I thought that would be a really big limitation when I bought this camera. However, after using it, I find that the 4K image is perfectly usable and the HD 10-bit image to be perfectly usable. This YouTube video that you're watching right now is a 10-bit HD video shot at 50 megabits per second in the XAVC codec. I find this codec plays back really smoothly in my timeline, and honestly, the image is perfectly sharp to crop in if I need to, and most people aren't going to tell the difference. Especially when you're comparing clips with YouTube compression, it's even harder to spot the difference. 1080p can also be upscaled to 4K, which is something I do for a lot of these videos. And I find that the image is perfectly good enough to crop in on my face just a tad, or even chop off the sides and post a video as a YouTube short. The most important thing to look for in a video camera is one that has a lot of dynamic range and a really good bit rate. The Sony FS5 Mark II has a dynamic range of 14 stops, which is actually really good and a huge upgrade from my GH5 that I'm used to shooting on. It also shoots in 10-bit, which means it captures plenty of color information. Honestly, I'm happy all around. This thing has pretty much everything I need in terms of video quality and codecs. The fifth reason why I love this camera is that it's really easy to future-proof it using an Atomos recorder. The Sony FS5 Mark II is capable of outputting 12-bit RAW over SDI. Now, if you buy the Mark I version of this camera, you will have to buy the RAW upgrade, which is an additional $500. However, if you buy the Mark II version of this camera, it has the RAW upgrade already activated on the camera, so all you need to be able to shoot raw video is an external recorder, media, and an SDI cable. So I use an Atomos Shogun 7-inch monitor to record higher quality video on my Sony FS5. It allows me to shoot ProRes, DNx HD, and ProRes RAW via the SDI input on the FS5. These are all really high quality codecs that you can shoot with, and it ensures that the Sony FS5 will be relevant for probably a long time. ProRes RAW also has a ton of benefits. Because it's a compressed RAW codec, it means that you can get really high quality video without taking up a ton of space on your hard drive. Also, because it's ProRes, the playback quality is really nice in your editing software. Additionally, because it's 12-bit RAW, you're working with tons of color information and lots of latitude in your image to push and pull it however you might like. Oh gosh, that was a lot. Hopefully I was able to explain why I love this camera so much. It's really good at just about everything. To recap, it's really lightweight, which makes it great for run and gun work. The variable ND filter also makes it great for run and gun work. It's got great audio, which just streamlines the video production process, and it's future-proofing codec options with things like an Atomos recorder. And also, additionally, it's just good internal codecs for generic things like this or for weddings. Really do make it a really good, just all-around camera. Hopefully you can see why I'm absolutely in love with this camera, and hopefully this helped you with your decision to potentially buy this camera if you are in the market for it. I bought my camera package for about $2,400, which is a steal considering that it came with a Canon 24-105 Metabone speed booster, additional microphone, giant carrying case, giant plastic Pelican, it's not a Pelican case, but it's a big hard case, and just all of the little peripherals and things that I might need to get shooting. For $2,400, that is quite a steal. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, please hit the subscribe button. It really does help out a lot. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.